Well, I wanted this to be kind of informal. You know, I don't have a whole bunch
Gosh, I was expecting background music and
of dancing.
Shucks.
Yes, scantily clad men dancing around the room would have been nice, but they were busy.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically you started saying that your parents were from
Bologna.
Bologna.
Actually, it's a town just south of Bologna called Cento, Cento. And I went to Cento too when I was in Italy, which was so
And how many years ago did you finally travel back to your parents' home?
About 6 years ago. And it was so marvelous to get into that, into the town square. And I kept looking around and seeing if there was anybody who looked like me, because that would have been my home.
Mm-hmm. So you were born in the United States?
I was born in Boston. Mm-hmm.
Boston.
But that would have been my home. My two older sisters were born in Italy. And my mother and father, yeah.
And all their people. So you didn't really look up the family name when you were
there?
I
did. I looked in the telephone directory.
Mm-hmm.
My maiden name was Castaldini. Isn't that pretty?
That's quite a name.
Castaldini. And I looked it up in the phone book.
You're the one that they need those really long forms for, Josephine Cast.
And I
used, what, 22 letters?
I used Castaldini as my middle name because I never had a middle name. And I guess they thought those were big enough. And,
well, there were 11 of you? 11
yeah,
siblings?
11. One died, and 10 grew up. Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, it was marvelous to be there. It was so exciting to get in.
Well, Italy is so...
It's fascinating. Yeah. I've been from Venice clear down to Naples.
What did you think? I've done this. I've been all the way down to Brindisi, and then I took the boat from Brindisi to Greece.
I went to Greece too, but I went over to Capri on the boat.
Yeah, I missed Capri.
That
I think that was it was an expense that wasn't.
Yeah.
It was cheaper to go the way we went, and we went with backpacks. I was 21 years old.
Right.
You know, pretty low-cost traveling.
But it was pretty exciting.
Oh,
and you see a lot of stuff you wouldn't have seen going a different way.
Truly, it was.
Probably a lot of stuff you didn't want to.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
I'm trying to think. There were a couple of times, like when we were on a train going from Barcelona to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our own room on the train, our own compartment. Mm-hmm. And the conductor actually wanted to come in, and I don't know what he thought he was going to do. We were trying to sleep. We were exhausted. He wanted to fondle us or do whatever he wanted to do, or kiss us or be friendly or something. And this is not very professional.
No.
And we just told him to get, take it and hit the
Shut
road. And so then he got mad at us, and then he just stuffed our compartment with people. Oh. That was about the worst thing that happened. And there was a couple of other things that weren't too great. Like it rained when we were on the boat going from Brindisi to Corfu. Mm-hmm. It rained, and we had put our sleeping bags out on the deck, and it rained, so we had to go into the lounge, But, just a couple of little snafus.
That wouldn't be right if it didn't.
Oh, I know.
It was perfect.
I know it. Boring.
Well, it really, awful.
Yes. So anyway, so you grew up in Boston.
Grew up in Boston, had all my schooling, grade school, high school, nursing school, and
how long was nursing school when you were?
3 years.
It still is 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah. And when I graduated, I had to wait about 3 months. They only, state boards are only about 3 times a year.
I had a
and
friend
I
who was a
grad-
chiropractor that
Yeah,
happened to
and I
too.
had to wait for, they had just been held.
Mhm.
So I had to wait 3 months, which I did. And
Did you work while
I
you were waiting?
worked at my own hospital.
Oh.
They call you a graduate nurse, not a registered nurse. And the salary is commensurate with being a graduate nurse rather than a registered nurse. So I took the state boards finally, and then you had to wait.
What year was that? You remember what year?
I graduated in 1939, and I took state boards in 1940, and waited, the months, because it was late in 1939, and I took the state boards, and finally found out that I passed them, and then I went to American Airlines. They were, in those years, they were just hiring nurses. And I had told them that when I
So
went...
instead of an airline stewardess,
Yeah,
they hired
yeah.
nurses. I remember
Yeah,
something very,
vaguely.
Mhm.
And so they put me, I hadn't taken state boards yet, I think, when I went there.
Mhm.
And they said, when you take state boards after we have passed them, come back and see us. Well, then I thought also about being a nurse on a passenger ship.
Mhm.
And, but I didn't.
Slower.
Yeah, but still I like ships,
Yeah.
but I didn't get that far because war, by this time it was 1941, and war was coming, and so I was standing, I got the mail at the hospital, and I had this very official looking envelope, which I opened right there where the mail was held. And this doctor on whom I had a wild crush, and he had children my age, but I still had all
He
through.
was a wonderful man.
Yeah, he was just, I scrubbed for him. He was an orthopedic surgeon, and I just thought he was the greatest guy on earth. I used to wish his wife would die, and I would take care.
And he could have everything.
And I would take care of his children, which were almost my age. But anyway, he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Look at this." I said, "Are we going to be drafted, do you think, into the Army?" Because it was the Army
Hospital you were
Yeah.
working in.
And he said, "Don't you go into the Army?" And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because the Army does not treat its nurses right." He said, "If you do anything, you go into the Navy Nurse Corps." And I said, "Well, I didn't even know the Navy had a nurse corps." And he said, "If they do, and they treat the
And they
nurses,
take care of the Marines too, because
Yeah,
the Marines
yeah.
don't have their
their
own.
nurses, they treat their nurses like ladies."
Mhm. The
Which-
uniform was probably cuter too on the Navy than
Well,
the
it-
Army,
it
wasn't
was
it?
cute.
Yeah.
And so, do you want to turn that off a minute? I'll get you the
Okay.
picture.
All right. Okay, so let's see. So it's 1944, and you're
Yes.
in San Francisco.
In San Francisco, and I was at Oak Knoll for 6 or 8 months. This was after Pearl Harbor. See, I was...
Did you get any of the injuries from Pearl Harbor into Oak Knoll, or did they take care of most of the injuries?
Well, I was in Pearl Harbor for 2 years.
They sent you to Hawaii?
I was, oh yeah,
Ah,
I went to Hawaii in 1942.
so you
Right.
were there right after the
Right, 6 months after the
bombing.
bomb. And I was there until it was almost two full years.
Did you like Hawaii?
I liked it. Yeah.
I
Of course,
love Hawaii. I liked old Hawaii. I
Yeah.
went in '88,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah, I went.
It's like Southern California.
I did go back, but the memories I have of it are so marvelous that there is nothing they could do to it to spoil it.
That's true.
Nothing.
That's true.
Absolutely.
It didn't spoil, being there in 88 and living there in 73, I was in Lahaina
Yeah.
on Maui. And in 73 it was so rural and
Yeah.
so, well, there's
Yeah.
a word for it. It was funky. It was very funky. And when I went back 10 years later, it wasn't so funky anymore.
No.
It was pretty organized.
That's
you know,
right.
Money,
Yeah.
big money had come in.
Right,
And it was
right.
all the hotels. My
Sure.
God, huge, huge complexes.
Well, as I say, the
I
friends,
miss the beaches,
the
plain
people
beaches.
I met were just incredible. I think about them a lot. And so there's nothing anybody could say about Hawaii. I don't care what has
I love
happened
Hawaii.
to it.
When people say they don't like it, I just don't
Yeah,
say anything
I
bad.
do.
I don't. Yeah, you can't
I
say
did
anything.
go back.
It's just their personal
We
preference.
had one very, very sad thing. One of the girls who was, there was 6 of us that went to Hawaii at the same time from Boston, from the Naval Hospital in Boston.
Quite a jump from Boston
Yeah,
to Hawaii.
yeah. We heard my father with all those sailors. And I said,
Decided, yes!
oh, he was so cute. He sent me a Catholic calendar until the year he died. When he did it, even after I married and moved to Cincinnati, because he just knew that I was in some place where I wouldn't know when I couldn't eat meat, when I had to go to church, and the year.
Did you go to Catholic school?
Yeah.
Private Catholic
The
school?
year that
All 10 of you went to private Catholic
Yeah.
schools. I've never understood how families can afford to do that. Do they give you a group rate?
I think
It's like
my
so
father
expensive.
was kind of one of the sponsors. This was just grade school now, not high school.
Right.
But I think they gave him a free raise because he helped build the school. I think, I don't
And
know.
raise money.
I
He was
don't
one of
know.
the
Yeah,
founders.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
he
know.
lucked out because I can't imagine what the tuition would be for 10.
Well, of course, money was the same. I mean, salaries were low, and but so was everything else.
Yeah.
So it's all commensurate.
Right. Loaf of bread was 5 cents, and now it's
Yeah.
$1.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless you buy-
$1.30.
Well, I always buy. I go to Fred Meyer's and I get
Yeah.
the 99-cent bread, and it's not. It's. I toast it. I usually toast it, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't make it difference.
Yeah.
But anyway, where were we?
Oh, we were in San Francisco. Let's see. We did digress to Hawaii, though.
Hawaii.
So you were in Hawaii in 19, right after Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then you came back and you were at
Oh, no.
Oak Knoll
Oh,
at 44.
And I was there for about 6 or 7 months.
Mhm.
And then was transferred to San Francisco to what was known as, it was a dispensary, not the hospital, Goat Island, to which Treasure Island was attached. The Treasure Island had the hospital, but why they put me in, that was all by myself.
It was fate.
Yeah.
When did
just
you meet Tim Sr.?
Right there. And I
At the
was-
dispensary?
Yeah,
So it was fate.
yeah. And I was married 3 months later.
Now, what was he doing in that?
He was paymaster, pay officer. And I got my check. They paid the commissioned officers by check and the enlisted personnel in cash. Yeah, cash, if you could imagine.
Just give them cash and let
Well,
them go out and...
He had from A to K, and they became good friends, and his fellow officer had from L to Z. with the enlisted personnel.
If your
Well,
name
even-
hadn't been Kay, then
No.
you would have been.
Well, actually, it was different.
Well,
with
no,
Jack.
that's right. He was K. That's right.
Yeah.
I think K. You
Yeah,
were
I was
C.
Yeah,
That's right.
but
Silly.
that's right. I got my check, and there was something wrong with it. And I went because see, being by myself in this dispensary, and I'll never know why, but that was. And I had to live what they called on the beach. It meant I had to find my own quarters because they didn't have anything.
And they didn't
for one.
compensate you for that?
Oh, they compensated
Oh, okay.
me. They gave me the rent, but I had to find my own quarters. So I got an apartment in San Francisco, and with another girl, and who was not in. She worked for the telephone company, and she was a friend of a friend, and she needed a roommate. I mean, the rent was $39 a month in the heart of San Francisco. It's now like $1
I think I paid, the last time I lived downtown, I lived in a very nice studio right on Everett and 21st or 2nd, 22nd. It was $78,
Yeah.
and that was 74, 75.
Mm-hmm.
But I've lived with lots of roommates where I paid, my portion of the rent was $50,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and you can't do that.
Well,
you know.
in fact, I
Too
came, when we made this move, I came across
Look at
a
you.
little thing that it said rent 16, 7, what did I say, $39?
Mhm. So half of
Yeah,
that.
$18, rent $18. And the other gal paid $8. God.
You can't even go to the grocery store and buy just milk, bread,
No,
and eggs
nothing.
and fruit for less.
Yeah, but it's all
18.
commensurate.
I
It's all the
know,
same
I
thing.
know.
Anyway,
It's so funny. It must just drive people, you know, because it kind of makes me crazy as I get older, you know, that you know where the economy has come from.
Yeah.
And what it costs to get the resources you need now, and where
Yeah.
the economy, it's just like,
It's unbelievable. It's
it
unbelievable.
is.
But you didn't, you know, a job, if you got a job, well,
Yeah.
it
It paid.
it paid for what you had to do
Right.
during that time.
Right.
It was amazing. I didn't pay for anything, you see. I
Except
just,
you didn't have to pay you just got
Yeah.
paid your paycheck and that you,
Yeah.
do you remember saving money? Did you have a savings
when
account?
I left I never drew any money all the time I was in the islands. I just drew what I needed.
Yeah, pin money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$5-10.
Mhm.
And when I left the islands, they said I had to take it with me. I couldn't leave the money on books anymore because I was going to a different place and so forth. So I took it out. It was close to $5,000.
Good for you.
Yeah, well, I didn't spend any money on myself. We were in uniform,
Mhm.
and there was no point in buying anything
Mhm.
because I knew once if I ever got out of uniform, the styles would be changing, and it just didn't make any sense.
You're just too practical.
Well, it just didn't
Yeah.
make any, and I didn't have room
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
so.
And you were busy. You know, you're a busy
busy.
worker.
Oh,
you know.
God, it was just.
Did you
so-
date much?
Well, once I met in San Francisco, once I met Tim, I married.
So there wasn't, let's see, you were 27 or 28 when you
Yeah,
married?
I was 27.
That was always going to be my target age, was
Really?
27, 28.
Yeah.
And I didn't get married until I was 30. I waited a little long. I got a little bit long in the tooth on that
Yeah.
one. Because I had some really icky habits by the time, you know, when you get a certain age,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to put up with another human being. You know, you just want to say, buzz off,
Yeah.
you know. Don't,
Right.
What are you talking
Right.
to me?
Well, and I was so used to, I call
Taking orders.
it well, and
Wow.
also being independent of my own, life, aside from my work. Because when I went off duty, I was on my own. I had to adhere to anybody that's...
Yeah. You have to act accordingly for a Navy nurse. You can't just go dance on tables and bars.
No. But see, I've never been much of a drinker.
Yeah.
I just never could handle it. I threw it up. And so I was careful about that. And I had a lot of fun, I will admit.
Well, just being around people that are drinking sometimes can be fun.
And
you're the sober one, you end up driving or you end up babysitting them, actually. But it can be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because you're not, and also it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Now, of course,
drinking is
there
expensive.
were no cars in the islands. We had to be driven everywhere by the Navy. Would take us down to Honolulu or any place, or they'd fly us to the other islands.
Oh, nice.
And so cars were, we had bicycles. I used to bicycle.
I had a bicycle when I was in Hawaii. I never had a car either.
Bicycle to the subways. And this
or
is
I'd take a taxi if I needed to go someplace. They had taxis. I just took a taxi.
And the Navy Yard, see, we were right in the Navy Yard in Honolulu. So
I've never seen that. I'd like to see that whole
very
Pearl Harbor
different
area.
now. Yeah. But it was amazing. This.
You got a Hawaii, you got a Honolulu, Oahu. Is that Oahu? Charm?
Yeah.
Wow.
You see where the Pearl Harbor is.
It's right, that little inlet,
I sent this to my sister, one of my sisters, when was her birthday, right after I got over there. And I thought she'd get a kick out of it. So I sent it to her. And about 10, 15 years ago, I was home. She has lost her sight. Yeah, it's real sad.
Diabetes? Did she have diabetes?
Nope.
Oh, just lost.
She was a temporal artery, one of the arteries.
Just lost the circulation in her eyes.
Just like that. And so she came to me. She got out, and she came and she said, I think you should have this, and because your kids might enjoy seeing it someday.
Some of the little
and
ones
I said,
go, Grandma,
God,
what's that?
you had this, all this. What would you expect me to do with it? She said, throw it away.
It was important to her. It was a gift from her sister. That's sweet.
But
that's a sweet
of course,
story.
the war was a big thing, so to
change the face of the earth
yes,
is what it did.
Yes, it did.
It really did. All the technology that came from, and basically medicine. I mean, we just went quantum leaps in the medicine trying to stitch those poor guys back together again after we
one of the things it did, which is just amazing to me still, we used to have patients come in when I was at Falkland. That's the name of my own hospital. And
that's Boston.
That's in Boston. And Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, but which is part of Boston. But we would have patients come in for various and sundry things like appendectomies, cholecystectomy, keep them in bed for 2 weeks.
Now they just throw them out the door the next day.
In Hawaii, when one night we had a boy, a young sailor, and he had his appendix out. I think it was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And about 4:30 or 5, he was back on the ward. And about 4:30 or 5, we had an alert, which meant everybody evacuated. And he got up out of bed and ran just with a brand new incision. And that's when it began to figure out that it was a good thing to get people out, to get the movie, not have them lie there and get
There's a circulation.
emboli.
Yeah.
I mean, that we had more people die of emboli.
Right. Just
And
lack
because
of
we
use.
kept, we kept them too still, and the blood never circulated. And so that's one of the
always
biggest
learning
things.
through serendipitous. It's
absolute-
serendipitous.
Just a freak.
Mm-hmm.
But I never will forget him. He was just a
Bolting
young,
for the door.
he was so cute. He was about 19, and he went zooming.
Still full of
course, he had
piss and
been-
vinegar.
He had been on shift, see, when that went off, you just,
Yeah, you respond. Yeah, you
Really?
respond.
and
Oh my goodness.
while I was in the islands, I had what they called a convoy trip. I came back to San Francisco, I and another nurse, her name was Gracie, and we brought the women and children of men that were in the islands that they weren't in the service, but they were working. And those women and
Employed
children,
by the army.
those women and children were brought, or had to come back to the mainland. So again, I don't know how I got picked for this, but the two of us got
You always
picked.
got interesting duty, though.
Oh, it was marvelous.
Mhm.
It was just marvelous. And the two of us went aboard
You
ship.
would have ended up over in Europe if you'd been in the Army Nurse Corps.
Well,
Probably.
I
You
probably wouldn't have minded,
Yeah.
you
A
know,
little bit
because I
different.
really...
You might have ended up in Italy. You
And
know?
that's right, I wouldn't have minded. But this was neat because we came back to San Francisco,
On a ship with all these
and we
families.
had one woman who was pregnant, and we were 12 hours out of Pearl Harbor when, what did we leave from Honolulu? No, we left from Pearl. She went into labor,
Was it premature labor? I mean,
Yep.
did she, yeah.
and we had a baby aboard ship. Well, I'll
Must have been
tell
pretty
you.
exciting.
Oh my goodness, it was a dreaming. And so you should have seen what the Marines did to get oxygen. They fashioned this thing. It was so, oh God. But the captain said, if a baby is born aboard a Navy vessel and dies before it reaches port, the ship is doomed. And he said, you cannot let this baby die. Well,
Got
Gracie,
people's attention
yeah,
anyway.
Gracie and I took turns, 12 hours, nights, days, and we got that baby. It was the first thing off that ship.
Yeah.
And he made the San Francisco papers.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing made the San
I
Francisco
wonder where the
papers.
baby is now. It would be, how old would he be now?
He'd be, anyway, I'll finish the
He'd be in
story.
his late 40s.
He went to the hospital, to St. Mary's, I think it was in San Francisco, and we called every day. Gracie was able to go home. They knew we wouldn't be going back out immediately. They had to wait for transportation. She could go home because she lived in Idaho. I couldn't go home because it was too far. Boston was too far. So I stayed in San Francisco, and I called every single day. And it was just before Gracie came back. Baby died.
Oh, no.
Oh, we cried. We
There's too many complications.
We said we kept that baby alive with nothing, and they had everything. But the baby, we called him Butch. God, he was cute. He almost died one morning, early morning. It was cold. I remember just we were getting close to San Francisco, and one of the boys came flying, Miss Joe, Miss Joe, Miss Joe, the baby's died. It was about 5 in the morning, and I went charging down to that room, and the poor mother, was just, and so I looked, and the baby had begun to turn, so I just started to push on him. I said to the little guy, go get the doctor. So he did it, and I said, and by the time the doctor came, he began to pink up, and he breathed and so forth. And so immediately it went, then the room was so hot. See, it was so cold outside. The room was so hot that I was just, I was like a hot flash. Now, it was terrible. But the baby pinked out. And so then I opened the door, fell flat on my face in a dead faint. I'd never fainted in my life.
So your adrenaline is just...
just everything was zooming. So he went around the ship. Baby blacks out. Nurse revives baby. Nurse blacks out. Doctor revives nurse. Now who the heck's going to do it?
What happens if something happens to the doctor? It's like a domino principle.
That became a big thing. And it was funny, too, because we had a destroyer escort. We were in a convoy, and we had this destroyer escort. And my sister, of course, there was a big Navy out in Boston, and my sister was talking to a sailor. She worked with Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, and this sailor was and I don't know, they got to talking, and I think she said something about her sister was in service. And he said, what's your name? And so she said, well, my name is Castaldini. Oh my God, she's the one who got that baby. And so, isn't that funny?
Yes, you were infamous. You were infamous.
But it was...
once somebody reads something, once you're in the newspaper, people will remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was your 15 minutes of fame that Andy Warhol talks about.
But it was but that was a trip to remember. Oh, and after we were married, after I was married, we had a honeymoon in Carmel. And we went, of course, by now, it's considered it closed. And we went to the La Playa Hotel. I'd never been to.
I've been to Carmel, and I can't remember the La Playa, though. I remember more about Santa Barbara. I had a friend who was living outside of Santa Barbara, but the quantum getting up the coast was, I only went there once.
Yeah.
Was it really quaint?
We stayed at the La Playa Hotel, and we were having dinner one night across the street. I've forgotten the name of that restaurant. I think it's still there, but I'm not sure. We went back there on our 34th or 5th anniversary, Tim and I did. But we went, we were in the hotel, and I think it was the second night we were there. We were there about 10 days on our honeymoon. And this man came in, a naval officer, and his wife, and he looked at me, and he said, aren't you Joe Castaldini? And Tim said she was, until yesterday. And so we got to talking, and he was aboard that ship. I did not remember him, of course. I was too busy to remember anybody. And he remembered, he said, did she ever tell you about the baby that was aboard the ship? I don't think I had told him.
Just hadn't come up in
No,
conversation?
no. And so, of course, we talked about, well, it turned out to be a marvelous thing because they had a car and we didn't.
So you got to go see some of the wine country.
Yeah, and so he had just so much gas. Gas was at a premium. And so Tim then was able to get gas for him also.
Because so he doubled up.
Yeah, so boy, we just had a wonderful
touring. That's fun.
It was a marvelous.
So what year did you get married?
1944. October. And
Tim Jr. was born?
1946. In June of 1946.
What's his birthday? What day?
June. No, March. What did I say? March 12th.
You've got a lot of birthdays to remember in your life.
Yes, March 12th.
Do you even try to remember all 18?
Oh, yeah. Have them on the calendar.
Good idea.
Yeah. There'll come a day, but yeah, it's on the calendar. In fact, for some reason, I was grateful for Tina because I had done calendars for the kids every year, and I think it was because of my father. And that calendar, I do. It's the funniest thing, that calendar.
We do have these little things that creep into our lives from our training from our parents.
Yeah, and you just, and they stay with you and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
You don't. So I sent
subliminal.
them. Yeah, I sent them a calendar every year for Christmas, and I still do it. And this year, I'll show it to you.
I'll tell you, those Sahara, not the Sahara Club, or is it the Sahara?
Sierra.
They are the most beautiful calendars. Oh.
But this is one.
They're the best. People I have to send a little money to. It's a Handicapped Artists Society.
Oh.
And they sent me cards.
Oh, I've been getting.
Yeah, and they just want $5 just to cover the cards, and I, fine, I could do $5.
Yeah.
But I do $5 here, $7 here, $10 there, and now it's up. And then
but at least you get a lot of mail.
Yes, yeah, I do get a lot of mail, a lot of junk mail is what I get. So let's see, you were married in 44, and your first child was born in 46. And you were living, where were you living when Tim was born?
Cincinnati.
Were you? How did you give him San Francisco to Cincinnati? How did that?
Because that's where Tim was from.
His people were there.
Yeah. He had home.
Yeah.
His father was there, his mother.
Now, was he in the Navy at the time when you met him? Or being the paymaster, he was in the Navy, he wasn't? Okay. So
he was, I had more rank than he did.
Really?
Half stripe. I had already made JG, and he was an ensign.
Wow.
And we have a picture that each of the kids have a picture, a photograph showing the stripes. I want you to know that your mother ordered me to marry her. And it was funny because he made JG right after, that's junior grade lieutenant, right after we were married. And the captain, the executive officer, who was one of my best friends, he was just, and his wife was just wonderful. She used to call me herself my California mother. I am your California mother. I'm keeping you.
You can't have too many mothers,
No. And she died. It was tragic. But he was so cute. He used to call me Buster. He said, she breaks everything. I said, Captain.
You're going a little too fast.
Actually, what it was all about, the reason it happened, she became very, very sick. She used to come into the dispensary. See, that's what I took care of in that dispensary, were people that lived on Goat Island. This is where the homes were.
So the dispensary slash pharmacy, is that what it would be, like a pharmacy?
No, they called it a dispensary. Nobody stayed overnight.
Oh.
So I just dispensed. If anybody was really sick, I sent them to the hospital.
Right.
See, so they called.
So it's
That's
sort of like urgent care.
yes,
So,
something
yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
right? But they called it the dispensary,
Mhm.
and so
And you were all there by yourself?
all alone, all alone.
You ran the whole thing yourself?
I had a doctor.
Yeah.
You know, I'd call it. Of course, I always had help if I needed it. But she used to come down to the dispensary. She didn't need hospital care at that point. Mrs. Ernst, and that's the captain's wife, and we got to be pretty good friends. You know, when somebody comes in, as often as she had to come in. Well, finally, it was sometime in July. In fact, I think, yeah, it was the 4th of July. We were all on the island for a party, and Tim was there. And they called, one of the sailors came down and they said, they want you at the captain's house. So I went up, and she was in bad shape, and she had to go to the hospital. So we took her to Oak Knoll in Oakland, and it was cancer. And it had been, I mean, it was way too far gone. Of course, in those days, we didn't have, she had a colostomy.
Yeah.
She had to have a colostomy. And she didn't want to stay in the hospital, and her husband didn't want her to stay in the hospital. So the captain went to the admiral, and he said, could you, would it be okay if we asked Miss Castellini she could go to the dispensary and then come and take care of, because she couldn't get out of bed. I mean, she could sit and trim. And so I did. And it was a marvelous experience for me. It really was. And she wanted so badly to come to the wedding. The captain gave me away, and she wanted so badly to come to the wedding, but she couldn't.
But you couldn't have rolled her in on a gurney.
Well, we thought, but
It would have been,
no,
yeah, it
terrible.
was a mess. It would have been a
But
mess.
she said, the minute the ceremony is over, please come up, both of you.
She wanted to still see those looks on your face, that newlywed look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did, and she looked so pretty. They had fixed her daughter. She had a daughter, Ruth, and they fixed her all up, and she looked so pretty. I wanted to stay in until she died. I knew she was going, but Tim was adamant, and
He wasn't as attached to her as you were.
No,
obviously.
no. And so she died. And maybe it was just as well when I think about it. I don't know. But she died. And it was so too bad, because she was a teacher, taught cooking in college. And she said, I had to do something. Hans was gone. Of course, he was in Annapolis, and was gone just so much at the time. And she just had Ruth. And so she said, I just had to, of course she had finished school, but we taught so much about cooking. And of course she knew I loved to cook. And I had a funny thing. You really want to hear all this?
Sure.
We had this one funny thing. We were going to the opera, Tim and I, and Ruth, that was
The daughter.
Mrs. Ertz's daughter, and her sister, who would come up. And the four of us were going to go. We were going to have dinner first at our tiny little apartment in San Francisco. And I had got some frozen peas. I wasn't too familiar with frozen foods. Nobody really was at that time. But we were going to have chicken, fried chicken, a big chicken, and frozen peas, and a salad or something. And Tim stopped at the grocery store, was going to stop at the grocery store to get something that I needed. We were not married yet. And, oh yes, we were just married. And so I had Pyrex, that was also new. And I had this Pyrex plate, a bowl, on the burner, which of course it should never have been. But it did say it could be. Mm-hmm. And it would have been all right if I hadn't done what I did. I took a package of frozen peas, and just as everybody was coming in the door, I put the frozen peas in this thing,
And it just exploded. Peas everywhere.
So I said to Ruth, "Don't you dare tell your mother. Don't you dare tell her." No, we weren't married.
She would have got such a charge out of it.
But we weren't married yet, that's right, because I was going on duty the next day. And so I said, "Don't you dare tell your mother that I did this. She'll just die here. She is so brilliant herself, Got on duty the next morning. When I walked in, she said, "I heard you peed all over the floor."
It went fast. Did she get a big kick out
Oh,
of it?
she roared. She said, "Joe, I'm not familiar with frozen foods." And, I said, "You never would have done that. You never." But the way she said it, I said, "You said a dirty word."
I hear you feet all over the floor. Oh, that's cute. That's great.
Oh, it was so cute.
Gosh. So anyway, so you went from San Francisco to Cincinnati.
Oh, yes, Tim,
How long were you in Cincinnati?
we lived in Cincinnati for the four children, Peggy, Tim, Tom, Steve, and Peggy were born.
Oh, I didn't know she was born in Cincinnati.
She was born in Cincinnati.
See, I'm finding out things about somebody I've known for 20 years.
See,
Yeah.
she was born in Cincinnati. She doesn't really remember. We lived there for 12 years.
So she was...
9 years. 9 years.
9 years. So
Yeah.
how old? She was like 5 or 6 years
5.
now.
Just, in fact, she...
Because I remember her saying something about moving somewhere around
Yeah,
5.
yeah. She, it was we came out here in June. We waited until school was closed. Came out in June, and she was to have her 6th birthday in January.
That would have been what year? 1950...
She was born in 52.
So that would be 58, 59.
Yeah, we came out here in 57.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, she was 5, and then she was going to have her 6th. And
I moved from Oregon to Pasadena when I was that age. Because my parents divorced and my grandparents moved to Pasadena, and I went to live with them.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Well, we moved that year, and we drove, the only time we ever drove. And
With 4 kids?
Well, actually, the boys, of course, remember it better than Peggy does. But all I can remember was Peggy saying, going to the bathroom was the biggest thing. "I'm not going to go in any mud hole. I'm just not." She's very persistent.
Yeah.
I think she's changed a bit, but
Things have lightened up for her.
yeah. But she was so cute. We laughed. I'm not going to go. But they enjoyed it. We planned it so drove 100 miles, and Dad drove 200 or something like that. And I would never have wanted to drive back again.
No.
But driving one way was really kind of fun.
It was an adventure.
Yeah, it was.
And what brought you out to Oregon? Did Tim Sr. get a job
Yeah.
out here when he was transferred? Is that what
Yeah.
happened?
hmm
So he
Went to
got a
work for
promotion.
Jansen. For Jansen.
Mhm. Did he work for Jansen until he passed away?
No, Jansen kind of
Flip-flop.
was, yeah. It was, everything's, it goes. So he went to work for Sawyer's. They made that Viewmaster.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
hmm
Oh. So he was actually, was he a salesman? Is that what he was? Or?
Yeah, he was a sales promoter
Mm-hmm.
more than actual selling, but he was in sales promotion.
I can't remember him. I don't know if I ever even met him.
He was very, very helpful.
Yes, in fact, I'd like an old picture of him if we could get a hold of
This
that
is
too.
one that was drawn.
Ah. Did he?
Yeah,
How tall a man was he?
he was about 5, he wasn't 6 feet, about 5'10" or 11.
That's
Let me
pretty
just
normal
show
for that generation. 5'10", 5'11" was about.
Yeah,
We've gotten a little taller since then.
But
How
his-
tall is Rex?
but actually his grandfather on his mother's side was really tall. He was 6'4" or something. He was very, very tall. See, my boys, Tim is the shortest of them. Yeah, please. Would you like something to eat? Did you have lunch?
I had lunch. I had leftover Chinese food.
That's good.
Tofu.
Yeah, but, yeah, he's
So Tim's the shortest of the boys.
my Tim,
Yeah,
young
junior,
Tim.
yeah.
Yeah, but Stephen is 6'2" or 3", and Tom's pretty much the same. And the girls are tall. So everybody's taller than I am, even my grandchildren.
Well, we start to get shorter as
Yeah.
we get older. And it's because our spines start to compress.
Well,
Our discs.
I'm
Very strange.
I was always short.
Yeah.
I'm for very short people.
Go
My-
petite, dear.
Yeah, my father, I have one sister who, boy, he's a nice looking man.
Very.
My father, I have one sister who's 4'11".
Oh, my. No,
Right.
that's teeny.
Yeah, my father used to say you could pick her up and put her in your pocket.
I had a roommate that was 4'11".
Yeah.
And she used to put everybody that came into the house, she'd put them on their stomach and she'd walk on their backs. Just like the Japanese, Hysterical. And everybody go, woo! I could use that right now,
Yeah.
actually. I would feel really good. I'm going by the gym on the way home and taking a jacuzzi and a sauna.
Good for you.
I haven't been there for a week. My daughter came down with mononucleosis.
Now, how old is she?
15.
Oh, that's the year. God, be careful. How
It's so hard, but she came down with a mild case. I was out of school for 2.5 months
Yeah.
with a home tutor.
Yeah.
They gave her mild steroids to get the swelling down in her throat,
Oh,
half
my.
a steroid. She couldn't even swallow her own spit. That's what I remember mononucleosis being like. I couldn't even swallow my own saliva. Anyway, these huge antibiotic pills. They're about this big. I swear they are. Big red ones. And she went back to a half a day of school yesterday. Just to
Where
kind
did
of
she go?
Rex Putnam
Oh,
over
yeah.
in Milwaukee.
Oh, boy. Now, she's
bless
what
her
year?
heart. 9th. But we've been getting her homework and bringing it home. But the first week she was just so rummy. It attacks your whole immune system's down, number one. And so your white blood count is so far down.
I'm sure.
And I can remember what it felt like. You feel like you've been run over by like a couple of team horses.
Poor kid.
Oh, no.
Missed a lot of school.
Yeah, she's a 3.5 student. She's been on the honor roll
Well, that's good.
forever. So she's keeping up.
What are her plans?
She wants to be a vet.
Good.
And that's something I've been whispering in her ear since she was about 5 years old. Being a veterinarian would be fun. And she's real good with animals, but she's not like attached to them.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, so she would be able to work on
Yes.
them.
Mhm.
She loves them, but she's not, she doesn't have that,
Right.
I couldn't do it. I have too much empathy
Yeah.
for the pain.
Yeah.
It's something like being a nurse.
Yeah.
You have to love people, but you have to kind of be
Yeah.
a little bit detached.
Well,
Otherwise-
you have to learn what you're doing, what you have to do,
Mhm.
right? Mhm.
do the job.
Mhm.
So anyway, so here you are, Tim Senior's working at Jansen,
Mhm.
and you've got 4 kids under the age of what? What was the oldest at that point? Tim Jr. was how old?
When we moved out here, Tim was, well, Peggy was 5,
Mm-hmm.
and he's, what? He was born in 46, so we moved out here in 50.
So he's turning 50 this year, or already did turn
Yes,
50?
yes, he's one of the,
Big 50.
what do they call, he's the first of the baby boomers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yep.
big 5.
'Cause I was born in 49. I
Mhm.
kind of wish they'd waited to have me until 52.
Well-
Or even 51 or 50, you know.
Oh,
It's like
we
being
had-
born in 40, I'm going, God, I was born in the 40s, you know what? You know.
Well, Tim was born in 46, Tom was born in 47, Steve was born in 49, and Peggy was born in 52.
Yeah, she's my little sis.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's my younger sis.
Yeah.
I just
Now-
love her. I just love your daughter.
Isn't she, darling? Isn't she?
She's past darling. She's into fantabulous. You know, she's just a fabulous person.
Well,
You
she's
did
just,
such a good job with her.
she's like her mother.
That's
She
true.
is. Peggy was the same,
You know.
just like Molly.
Mhm.
Just,
I know Molly said hello today when
Yeah.
I called, and I said, hi, Peg, and she went, no, this isn't Peggy. And then when she talks, she doesn't sound like
Yeah,
her, but
no.
they have the same hello.
yeah. But they, Peggy was always Miss Woo.
Yeah,
Everybody knew her.
yeah.
Ev-
A lot of enthusiasm.
Everybody in school knew her. Everybody.
Friendly.
Uh-huh.
She's so friendly.
Yeah, yeah. The prettiest girl in school.
She's gorgeous.
Which she hates to. She really, and it's genuine.
I know.
She said, that gets you, I mean, that doesn't even
It
get
gets
you
you
a cup of
noticed,
coffee.
but it doesn't get you
No,
much.
no, that's
Yeah.
right. Doesn't even get you a cup of
Yeah.
coffee.
And Mark, bless his heart, was just
Isn't he
freeze.
to put up with her?
He just lets her go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what's he going to do? I mean, you know, I'm sure they argue, and I'm sure they have their disagreements, but I've known Mark a long time. In fact, I sent Mark, when she was working at Birds, just that little bit, when
Right.
she came back from Palm Springs and
Yeah.
that whole
Yeah, yeah.
scenario. God. Anyway, I sent Mark 2 Birds to take her out to lunch. I said, you know, Peggy's back in town. And I knew that he had a crush on her.
Yeah,
But Mark is so shy.
yeah.
He's not as shy as he used to be,
Yeah.
but when in his 20s he was ridiculously shy. It's so cute. I mean, he always reminded me of Sir Lancelot. I mean,
Yeah,
he always had
right.
that blonde hair. You know, he looks like he should have been jumping off a horse and coming out of, you know, I mean, he's just gorgeous man,
Yeah.
and sweet and a good heart. And I said, go take Peggy to lunch. Well, then, 2 months later, we're married. I'm going, I
We're
just
gonna
asked
have
him
a
to take her to
baby."
lunch. That was so funny.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, but,
I was so glad when they got together.
yeah, well, I was too, because Peggy was such a,
She had an airhead quality about her.
She did.
At times,
She
you know,
did.
and it was a cover-up.
she was so, how shall I, trusting.
Yeah,
She trusted people.
Yeah.
She trusted.
yeah. Trust is a good thing.
It
Trust
is, but
kind
it
of
can be
backfire.
It can be overdone.
Yeah,
It's
backfired on
Yeah.
her a lot.
She had some wild times there,
Mhm.
but somehow or
Well,
another,
it grew her up.
we,
It grew her up. I mean, she grew up with those
oh,
wild
in a
times.
hurry. And I remember when she had to leave Palm Springs.
See, I never wanted them to go there in the first
Oh,
place. I
God.
knew what Palm Springs was like.
Yeah.
Palm Springs is a
It's terrible.
it's the Sodom and Gomorrah
It is.
of the world, as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned. I've been there before, and a lot. We used to go over there for spring vacations because I lived in Southern California, and I didn't want her to go.
No.
But I didn't say anything.
No.
You know, I said, well, good luck or
Yeah.
something along those lines. But you know, you have to let people take their own path.
Oh, hey, good. I'd just be there
Mhm.
when the chips are ready.
Yeah, just be there for support to pick up
And
the
I-
pieces when the shrapnel.
And I'll tell you,
Mm.
I will forever be grateful to young Tim, who was living in California at the time. And because I was all set to go down,
He pretty much took care of his sissy. Yeah, he took care of her.
I'll tell you, he was so marvelous.
Mhm.
I just can't say enough. And even for Teresa, even though they are now divorced and so forth, but
Do you ever see that set of grandkids?
do now.
Good.
How
How old are they now? They're
20, Cass is 24, and Kristen is just turned 22, 21.
and where do they
Cass
live?
must be 25.
Where do they live?
They're still in Texas,
Oh.
Beta. No, Cass is in Dallas,
Mm.
but Kristen is still in, and Tim is now,
Who
aren't they?
gave you these?
My sister,
Nice lady.
yeah. That's a Christmas present.
So how many siblings do you have alive still? Your own siblings? Your
Well,
sisters and-
I have, actually, there are 6 of us still alive.
Oh, that's
But
quite
2
good.
of them are in such, one is just, she just is there.
Mm.
They get her up.
How old?
She's 19. She's 21 years older than I am.
Oh my God, so she's way old.
Yeah. But she just,
She's vegetables now.
they feed her with a syringe. And
What's the point? There's no quality of
I
life
know.
there. You know, I'm a gerontology
It's
major, and
it's
I
her
still say,
daughter.
what's the point?
it's her daughter.
Oh,
She
that's
has,
a selfish
no,
thing to do.
no,
Really?
not if you knew Rosie.
Okay, I don't know Rosie.
Rosemary,
She really loves her mother.
well, not only does she love her mother, but she had 2 older brothers. And, of course, her father's been gone for quite a long time. Her father was a good 11, 12. He was, he was one of my favorite people. Just turned 70.
How old was he when he
Yeah.
died?
See,
How old was he?
we grew up with nephews.
I'm asking you so many questions.
Nephews and nieces that were close to our age.
Mhm.
He was just turned 70.
Oh,
Yeah. See, we grew up with nephews, or at least nephews and nieces that were close to our age,
mhm.
because there was such a...
Such a
Yeah.
21-year
Yeah.
difference.
Mhm.
And that was the same mother and father that had the same mother and father had these kids 21 years apart. Because that happens a lot when you get remarried and then you have a second
No,
family. So were you the surprise baby that Tina was?
No, I'm the 9th child, and then I had one brother.
Because Tina was kind of a surprise child.
Oh, yeah,
wasn't she?
because that was 7 years
Mhm.
between them. But she just, I don't know, because I have one brother younger than I call myself the 9th child because they never said 11 children, they
Right.
just used to say
10.
10. Because my sister, the one who died at age 4, she was 84 years old. And she had what they called at that time inflammation of the bowel. And they called, I think it was a ruptured appendix.
So she basically just poisoned herself.
That's right. Because at age 14, I had a ruptured appendix. And I'm sure it
But
was,
by then, they
yes,
they knew what they were
they
doing a little
knew
better.
what they were doing, except it's not like it is today, of course, with no antibiotics. I was in the hospital for over a month,
Oh my
with all these drains,
Oh.
smelly drains at the Massachusetts General.
Yeah.
And
And then Peggy was telling me about your mother used to drain your ears too.
yes, one ear.
Ugh.
That's, I know that, I remember that I had what they called a running ear. So it was like a mastoid.
Just
Mastoids were just, I mean, it was every other week for people. And people died. But once penicillin came in,
cleaned
you
up.
never
things.
even hear it.
What year did penicillin come in?
It was the year, let's see, Tim and Tom were in school. So you must have been in school too, 5th to 6th grade?
Really?
No.
I
Yeah,
would be littler than that.
No, maybe 2nd and 3rd grade, or first, yeah.
So I was in
Yeah.
49, I went to school.
But just about
57, 58, 55 maybe? 19.
around there, just
Yeah.
about then.
Yeah.
Because we were, see,
You've seen so much happen in your life, from the time you
oh, God, we did.
just the progress and
This-
the technologies has just been
Yeah,
awesome.
some
And
of
you
the
were born,
things-
what year were you born?
17.
17. Boy, and you are going to live to the year 2000. You are.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to go in the bathroom while
Please do.
while you're living.
Well, who knows?
I know.
Really? You don't know? Would you like some more water? Or
Yes, please.
yes.
Yes, please. I love water.
I do too. I do too.
It's so inexpensive and it works.
Yeah. And it's the best thing in the world.
It's
Why
the
not?
best. Well, am I wearing you out with all this talking?
Oh, that's okay.
At least you can do it sitting down. That's good.
Yeah.
These cashews are way too good, Joe. I don't know.
God, I'm so glad.
Oh, they're just
I'm
wonderful.
so glad.
I went to Kaiser last week because I've lost too much weight, and it's mostly just due to stress.
Now, what are you stressed about? Mainly.
Being in school for so long, having a teenager.
What are your plans?
Well, I wanted to open my own business and
Doing
do
what?
putting together services for families of elderly mothers and fathers. Like if there came a time where you needed somebody to come in and help you clean, and even just to do your toenails,
Do you
or
want to do something?
I'd love to. It's my favorite thing. I just really love to clean house. I clean house when it's like in my face. I mean, I see something and I go, ooh, and I clean it. I do not spend a day cleaning. I do not set aside time for cleaning. I do not like to clean particularly, but no one else does it, so I do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's a forced thing, it's like, ooh, somebody, I think, God, what if somebody saw that? So I clean it. Anyway, I'm not quite that bad, but I'm close. But anyway, I want to put together a computer bank and have my own business from where I can live anywhere and do that actually. And just advertise in modern maturity, and basically I need to get in with the doctors. I need to get in with some doctors. My daughter's best friend has a practice in Gladstone and has quite a few elderly patients. And so
What's
I
his
could get
name?
in with him. Dr. Mick.
Mick?
Dr. Mick, yeah. And so basically that's what I wanted to do. But today I was watching CNN, and they were talking about Alzheimer's patients. I want to do something with that too. I see my degree will be in sociology,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah.
this huge
Yeah.
scope of, you know, people and things and places. But what I really, my focus is gerontology, which is the actual sociological study of aging. What makes some people age better than other people? What gives, you know, I mean, it's your genes, it's how you've taken care of yourself, it's how much sleep you get and how much exercise. We know the basics of why. But there's some real,
The genes.
yeah, it's that real, that, you know, it's your attitude. You know, it's how you look at the world. It's in whether you can forgive and forget. Because if you can't forgive and forget, that's a death sentence right there. That is the death sentence. You start drying up inside. You can't find happiness in anything. You know, so there's a lot of things I've learned through going to school for 8 years. So embarrassing. I should have gotten out in 5 or 6, but now I'm kind of dragging my heels because I'm kind of liking, you know, I kind of got used to being in school. I know how to do that, but I don't know how to do that out in the private sector. You know, so the 5th year grad school, which I'll start in spring, they do a practicum, so you do an apprenticeship, so you actually go out. So I'm going to do my practicum in Alzheimer's. I'm going to go and work in the field. Because today it was just right in my face.
Yeah.
That that's what I wanted to do. My grandfather died about 6 years ago, my second grandfather, not one that I was blood related to. My paternal grandmother's second husband died of Alzheimer's. He worked out at the the missile base in Las Vegas and trucked that, because they were always blowing up bombs out there, you know, just testing, 1, 2, testing. And he drove the stuff back and forth, the waste. And I'm sure that's a part of it. In fact, there's a lot of class action suits right now. And my grandmother said, no one held a gun to Clayton's head and made him go out and get that job. You know, it kept a roof over their heads.
How old
you know.
was he?
He was only about 74, 76, somewhere in there. It's fuzzy.
See, I have a theory about, it's not a theory, it's a true belief about Alzheimer's. True Alzheimer's is mental
Deterioration.
Yes, but before age 50. That is the true, that's what Dr. Alzheimer's is. Even in my ancient dictionary, it's in the new dictionaries, but it's in the old dictionaries that go back, where are they? Well, they're in my other room. But that's what Alzheimer's is. Now they're saying Alzheimer's when they're 80. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's senility.
That's, yeah, dementia.
But it makes people feel better
Yeah.
to put a label on
I
something.
think there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of women, it seems like there's more women than men that have it. Maybe I would like to know the stats on that. That's what I'm going to find out.
More men die early. too.
Right, they don't get a chance to get
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of
every
people just give up, Joe.
Yeah.
I think it's like,
Sure.
if I have to hear one more of my relatives did what, or what country is killing babies because, you know, it's all this, it's just like your mind just goes, no more. I think there's just a shut-off valve. I think it's a security, survival shut-off valve. You just go, I can't handle it anymore. I can't listen to this anymore. It's just too much. And some people just seem to have a less of a fight, you know. Me, Peggy, we will never give up. I mean, you know, I think I kind of sit on the couch once in a while myself, and I'm so tired, and I'm so exhausted mentally and everything, but then I go, you know, and I go out and I clean the kitchen or something, you know, just to keep myself motivated, you know, because you have to be a self-starter. You have to be. You have to motivate yourself, because no one's going to come along and motivate, you know, unless you hire yourself a coach.
But I remember so distinctly way back when I was a student and they brought up Alzheimer's. see.
I know her face.
But it was a specific thing that happened. We had a man up at one Mountain Park, when I worked at Mountain Park.
Right.
Now, he was a true Alzheimer.
He was in his 50s at the time?
He was in his 40s.
Oh.
He was 48, handsome, a swim coach,
Just
a
lost.
remarkable looking, good looking man. And his wife was totally, now to me, he was the true Alzheimer patient.
Yeah. They found, when they've done the autopsies on the brains, Joe, they found a propensity of aluminum.
Something,
And I stopped. I don't use deodorants with aluminum in them. I mean, I just instinct
yeah,
then,
yeah,
you know,
right.
put aluminum right in your lymph glands.
Mhm.
That's what this is. This is your lymph glands right here. That's why you do sweat out of there. You know, people are like, duh. I mean, they put Mitchum deodorant on. I mean, they did. My mother used this for years, and God knows, she's as eccentric as the day is long. You wouldn't be able to tell if my mother got Alzheimer's because she's so eccentric. She's so intelligent and so eccentric. You know.
How old is she?
She's 69. Yeah, she's such a case. My dad's 70, and he just got diagnosed with low grade blood leukemia.
Hmm.
And because of his age, they're not even doing anything.
Mhm.
There's no treatment. They're just testing his blood just to see what the platelets are doing. But I did find a doctor at up at Good Sam that will maybe go in and do something for him. And I haven't seen my dad because my dad lives on Hayden Island and the Great Flood,
Right.
so I haven't been able to give him the card.
Now they're still together. They're not.
Oh, my parents divorced when I was 4.
Oh.
My father's on his 4th wife,
Oh boy, for him.
and she's 2 years older than I am.
This
The
one now.
4th wife, yeah. She will be 50, maybe 3 years. No, Mary's 3 years older than I am. She'll be 50 this next birthday, and I'll be 47.
Where does he get his money?
He's been a car salesman all his life. Basically, he entrepreneurs. He just finds
He's
cars.
high and low.
Yeah. Yeah, buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he does. He finds people know him. He's handsome like your
Yeah.
husband, gift of gab. You know, he said to me, this is what my father said to me, and you know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He said, I am so talkative and I am so open with people that I would talk to a rock. And I said, Dad, you would talk to the son of a rock. So there. Yeah, and I mean, it just it's so
Do you
funny.
see much of him?
Not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough. I mean, he's just right out of Jansen Beach.
Yeah.
But he's busy. I get together with him when my car needs to be
Yeah.
fixed. We have lunch. We probably see each other about every other month.
How about your mom?
I see her about every other week, about every 2 weeks, maybe once a week. I talk to her a couple times. I don't really care for my mother.
Is she still married?
She married a man when I was 5 who sexually abused me.
Oh my goodness.
And
Does she know it?
yeah, but I didn't tell her until I was 15. And then I used it like a megaton bomb. It was a little bit like Pearl Harbor
Yeah.
for her. And she wanted to get me some help at the time, and I was 15.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't want to. Well, she should have taken me by the short
Yeah.
hairs and drugged me down there.
Yeah.
Because this would have all been resolved.
Mhm.
But I didn't start working on resolving any of this until I was in my 30s. When I stopped drinking. I had to stop drinking in order to start working on this.
Yeah.
Because I was drinking because I was trying to forget
Sure.
about all this.
Well, where is he now?
The second husband, or
The one who?
abused me,
Yeah.
I hope he is
Is in hell.
the middle of hell.
Yeah.
Sitting on top of a big
But
old
They
volcano.
they did separate.
Oh yeah. That only lasted 6 months.
Oh.
My grandfather came up and something happened. Something happened along the way. He bought her the engagement ring. He never paid for it. My grandfather started putting two and
Yeah.
two together. My grandfather was the owner and the editor and the owner of the Ashland Tidings. the newspaper in Ashland,
Mhm.
or down the
Yeah.
Ashland University is kind of
Yeah.
intelligent man, very, very, very intelligent
Now,
man.
this was your father's?
This is my mother's father,
Fine.
my maternal grandfather. My paternal grandfather owned a portable sawmill.
Huh.
So I had this, like, extremely brilliant man. I mean, I looked at my grandfather and he reminded me of Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
He even looked like Abraham Lincoln. He put a stovepipe on him, he was there. My other grandfather was a drunk.
Mm.
He was a drunk lumber guy. You know, so here I have this drunk lumber guy and this brilliant man for my grandfathers. And then my grandmothers were, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother is still alive and living in Road River. She's 88 and she's marvelous. We get along. We're a lot alike.
Yeah.
I even take, you know, physically,
Yeah.
I look a lot. I don't look anything like my mother. Not at all. I look a little bit like my dad. The eyes, we've got the same green, big green eyes. But I don't see enough of the family, you know. It's just, I guess it's coming from being split
You're all
up.
Westerners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we're all here. Yeah, and you've got your kids in Texas, and then you've got kids at the beach, and then you've got kids mostly here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, then
Tom?
Tim is in Denver.
Tim's in Denver,
Denver.
now. He's been in Texas and California.
Around,
Well, they, when you're a flyer.
yeah. And is he still flying?
Oh, yeah.
But he only flies, what, 2 or 3 times a month, doesn't he? Or does he fly more
No,
than that?
he's,
Because you're that senior
Yeah.
a pilot.
but he loves it.
Oh, I know.
He loves
Up
it.
there in the air,
Yeah,
all that
he loves it.
control.
He loves it. He does. He
Yeah.
really, I don't know what got him started.
But he was doing the furniture thing too, wasn't he? Didn't he
Well,
have a business
that
going on the
was
side?
when he was with Western Airlines,
Right.
and before they finally merged with Delta.
Delta.
And once they merged with Delta, then he was, yeah, but he had some, what was it, a couple of years when the airline industry was trying to,
Right. They're
Yeah.
deregulated.
yes, yes, yes.
That was
And so-
ugly, and it hasn't been very pretty since. Every time I fly since they deregulated, and I usually always get the cheapest airline. It's my fault. And
Yeah.
if I just would fly with somebody that knew what they were doing. Reno Air.
Yeah.
Ugh. Southwest, okay.
Yeah.
But Reno Air, ooh. Alaska is wonderful attendance, but they're always late. They're
Yeah.
never on time. You can't get it together. But anyway, I digress again. So Tim is still flying,
Yeah.
and he no longer has the furniture thing going, though.
Oh, gosh, no,
Yeah.
that was just an
That was a-
interim
yeah,
until the airline
He was
itself.
sort of entrepreneuring,
Yeah.
as it were. Yeah. He certainly is a handsome man. I remember how really handsome he is. It doesn't matter that he's short. He's a cutie and very, very gregarious. Yeah.
He is a head turner.
Yeah.
The
And
girls.
are Steve and Tim both teachers?
Tom
Sorry.
and Steve both, yeah.
Yeah.
Stephen, they both teach middle school
It's amazing.
in different,
Lucky kids to have male teachers, though. in
I
that.
think so too.
Because it's too predominant
Yeah.
on females, you know.
Oh,
When Katie would have a male teacher at school, it made all the difference in the world. She worked harder. She'd come home with a female teacher and go, God, you're
Where
not
did
going to
she go?
believe what she wants us to do now.
where did
But
she
never
go
with
to
a male teacher.
grade school?
She went K through 6. We kept her in the same school. That was I was adamant about
Yeah.
that. We bought a house when we first got married, and even after we separated and divorced, David's still in the same house. It's right there in Oak Grove, Riverside.
No.
It's like almost like a private school.
Mhm.
They actually have children that come there. The parents have to pay a couple $1,000s
Yeah.
more above their tax base
Right.
to go there. But it's a fabulous school. The
That's-
teachers care. I mean, they're out there with the kids.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just showing up for work.
That's great.
And teachers are wonderful. I'm not saying that there really aren't any bad teachers. they're teachers that don't function well with children and never should have been teachers, but they still teach.
Yeah.
They know their job. And then there's those teachers that are just like saints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 2 teachers that even today were the most marvelous. One
They
of them-
touch you somewhere.
One of them was an English teacher. Her name was Miss Foley. And they were all Miss when I was in high school.
Because that's what
in
happened. If you
Boston.
didn't get married, you were a teacher.
They had to quit. But this Miss Foley, she was incredible to me. I wound up, I had her for sophomore English, but I wound up being her secretary for the next
liked you,
2.
too?
Yeah, oh God, yes.
The fondness there.
Really got along. And so for the next 2 years, I was doing all of her correcting everything, you know. And the other one was Miss Whitney. Her name was Elsie Whitney. And she taught history. And she taught history as though it was a novel.
Oh.
God, she was incredible. And she was I don't know whether, I couldn't call her funny looking, but the boys called her funny
They're
looking.
gawky. There's this sort of gawky
She was
looking
very
woman.
tiny, and she wore the same thing all the time. All the time. She must have had 6 pleated skirts. Do you know
I still have some at home.
Okay, they were green,
Ugh.
and the tops were very, the type that you see in the old-fashioned, and she wore her hair in a pug. We called it a pug on top of her head, just like this, and her earrings. She wore little earrings. But she, to me, the history came alive. I still love historical novels.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
my
think
favorite, actually. I
and I
love
think it's
historical
because of
novels
her.
myself.
I really,
Yeah.
really do.
There's a little history in a novel and an
Yeah.
interesting character. I'm
Yeah,
there.
it did,
I love it.
right?
Yeah.
But she
favorite.
just was incredible. And we had our 25th reunion, and they called me from home to see if I could go. And I couldn't. Tina was just born,
Oh my.
and I couldn't leave. And I said no, and she said, and the gal called me and said, Joy, you're going to be so sorry because,
Drag the baby with you.
well, I couldn't. She
I
was
know.
much too little. And airplanes then weren't quite what they are today. And so she said, you're going to die when I tell you who's the guest of honor. And I said it was, and she said it's Elsie Whitney. And I could have died. She became the head of the history department for the whole city of
Oh
Boston.
my goodness. Well, good for her.
She had to.
She had a gift.
She had
a
oh,
gift.
God, she had a gift. It was just, it was incredible. I didn't have to
And
take,
she never married.
no, see, they couldn't.
Of course,
They
if
had-
you said she was as funny looking as she was, she would have had to
Well-
have found somebody that
Yeah.
would have been able to see
Oh,
past that.
I would think somebody,
Yeah.
but she was dedicated.
Yeah, she was on course.
She was.
Yeah,
She was.
she was tuned in.
And I just think it was tragic.
Yeah.
We had 2 sisters who taught. One was Miss Toland. They were, now wait a minute, how did that work? There was Madeline. I forgot, they both were Tolands. Madeline and the other one was, I forgot her name. One was
Martha.
blonde and very outgoing, and Madeline was not so, didn't dress, but the other one did marry and did get out.
Probably
But,
was part of her
the-
plan. Get
yeah,
out.
Yeah, but
Get
the
married.
other sister didn't.
Yeah. Well, in those days, everybody was expected to get married. I mean, I remember going through school in the 60s, and they weren't really all that hard on the girls, about not taking much math or,
Yeah. It's
because they
too
just
bad.
figured we were just going to get married
Yep.
and have babies, so who cared?
Isn't that too
It
bad?
was horrible. But by 70, I graduated in 67.
Yeah.
By 70, it was a whole
Yeah.
different ballgame.
Mhm.
It was like, wait a minute.
Yep,
Maybe they should learn something.
yeah,
And it's been a cycle like
Yeah.
that because the Puritans didn't want their women to get an education because then they wouldn't be as submissive to the men.
exactly.
When we first came from England.
And look what's happened.
But then there was after the revolution they decided, well, since the women were in charge of the children, maybe they should know
Yeah.
a little something. So they actually set up schools for the mothers to go and learn things
Yeah.
so that they would be good role models for their children. Blah blah blah. I mean, it just seems to go. It goes up and down. Up
It
and
does,
down.
it does.
And the more things change, the more they stay the
Isn't
same.
that the truth? That's as true as anything that's ever been become a truism.
Yeah.
But I know I didn't work for outside home for 26 years. When
So
Tina,
from 44 until
when Tina was 11 years old, she was born in 1959, and so 11 years later, I said to Tim one day, because he was all for my staying home, and I didn't mind. I mean, I had
as long as you have enough money to be able to,
that's right,
to
and
support
I
your
had
kids.
also had, I thought, a pretty good life
Yeah.
between high school.
Well, you probably had
But
outside
maybe-
activities. Oh yeah, you
Well,
had all that
I
other
had-
stuff.
That's
too,
right.
Yeah.
I had
You're a
had
busy girl.
all right, and enjoyed every minute of it.
Mhm.
But I also enjoyed the
Being home
kids.
with the children.
I really
They were your
enjoyed.
babies.
I really enjoyed those kids. So that, I mean, Tim would come home
I can imagine.
and we'd be into some kind of project. One of them
Yeah.
at
All the
school
time.
say, "Oh my God."
Take them to the library
Yeah.
and take them down
Yeah,
and buy them the paper
exactly.
and the pencils
And
and there was
I
always something.
loved
I have one and she keeps me busy.
Yeah, I
I can't
loved it.
imagine having 4 or
Yeah,
5.
I just plain loved it.
But then just
then-
cooking meals for them and keeping their
Yeah.
clothes clean and the house in some
and
kind of order.
I had to make sandwiches.
Day's over.
Yeah, yeah, I had to make sandwiches because none of the parochial schools had lunch programs, so they had to have sandwiches for lunch,
Yeah.
and it was marvelous. And I had to have my Wednesday for golf.
Only once a week you play.
Yeah.
Only just once.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty normal, I guess. I
Yeah.
have a friend who plays on Thursdays,
Yeah.
unless, of course, he plays on another day. But
Yeah.
it's Thursdays. He
Yeah.
goes out to the Columbia Edgewater.
Right.
His family has
Mhm.
has been members there forever.
Mhm.
In fact, we were actually talking about together, just kind of, figuratively talking about what it would be like if we were to retire to Mexico
Mhm.
in our 60s,
Yeah.
which is coming up.
Sooner than you think.
I know, it's very bad. Anyway, and he had to factor in club dues
Mhm.
in Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm going, I think he's
Now,
attached
who
to
is
this
this
club
ma-
thing.
Who is it? Are you married to him?
Let me turn this off and I'll tell you about it. A story that I absolutely am just totally enamored with. I can just get chocolate. Did I just get chocolate on your couch? I just got chocolate on your couch. And I
Oh.
was just sitting right here. Oh,
Oh, God. Oh, that's terrible.
I know, it's the end of the
Oh,
world. I love you.
I'll have to
You are-
sue you
I know. I think you should,
for
actually.
everything you don't have. I'll take care of it. Don't. Good Lord.
Anyway, but I just looked down and I can't
Yeah.
remember it falling off. I was so busy stuffing my face. They're so good. When you talk to your sister the next time, tell her you had a friend of Peggy's come over and she was just in love with these cashews. Anyway, so the story about how when Tim Sr. died, the night that you were all together in the house, the old house, and that all the kids were there. I mean, all 5 of them and all of their, spouses. And it was, what was?
My birthday.
It was your birthday, and he went to bed and died. But
Except,
he got,
except,
it's just amazing.
it was a Saturday night, and he said he had to go to bed because he had the duty the next morning. He used to usher the 7 o'clock mass
That's
every
early.
Sunday.
So you gotta get up at 6
Yeah,
at least.
every Sunday.
You
This
gotta
was-
shave
This
and get
was his
dressed.
job. Yeah. I mean, it was a self-inflicted job. Nobody asked him to do it, but
It's
everybody.
penance, you know, those are good for people.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
So-
because it keeps you a little straighter on Saturday night.
Right.
Because you can't go in there
Right.
real hungover on it, you know, like,
Yeah. So he
So you have to drink
said-
on Friday night.
He said he was going to go to bed, which he did. And of course, we got everything straightened out.
And it was your birthday.
It was my birthday. And the next, Tina had come home from school. She was in apartment, and she had come home from school, and we were going to drive her back the next day. She had come home for my birthday.
What a shock.
Yeah.
What a shock.
So,
Oof, but what a wonderful shock. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a wonderful story in a way, and then it's shocking in
wonderful
another
for
way.
him,
Yeah.
because he'd have been a horrible invalid. I probably would
Not
have
a
killed
great
him.
old man.
I probably would have killed him.
Because it could have just been a stroke, and that would have been
Yeah.
horrible. Yeah.
But, yeah.
You just have to have shot him, that's all.
That's right.
Make
So-
my day.
So Tina had said, Tim called. See, Tim wasn't there because he was in Atlanta or someplace. And he said he'll call at 10 o'clock,
Mhm.
wherever he was, and to say happy birthday. So I said, okay. And so I pulled a plug out of the phone in the bedroom. And Tina and I, or Tina was doing nails or something, we were watching TV. And Tim called. So I said to Tina, okay, tomorrow morning we'll get going to get back to Eugene. So she said, okay, I'll be going to bed soon too. So I went in to go to bed, didn't turn on the light, and I got into bed, and Tim's arm was over on my side of the bed, which wasn't unusual,
Spread eagle.
but I picked it up to put it back, but it was so cold, and I thought, God, it's cold. And it was February.
Did it even occur to you?
No, not at that time.
Instantaneously, yeah.
No. Because I was able to move it. So I thought, does he have the covers on? And maybe he's thrown all the covers off. I don't know what I thought.
Yeah. You're doing
And
a
then-
checklist is what you're
Then
doing.
I felt his shoulder, I think it was, and I thought, my God, it's cold. So I turned on the light, and he was dusky, already dusky.
Well, you've seen
So
dead
he-
people before too,
So he must have gone not too long after he went to bed. So
that is the
I
most
didn't
unique
call.
story. I mean, I'm sure it's happened
Oh,
before,
sure.
it will happen again,
But
it's,
there was no,
it's unique in my experience.
there was no point, in my opinion, in calling the paramedics.
No.
Because they'd have come up and I couldn't have stood
All the
that.
noise
I-
and the
well,
disruption.
Well, trying to revive him, that's what they tried to do. I'd been dealing with that at the, that.
Horrible.
just didn't want
I
that.
know.
So I called Dr. O'Shea.
No heroics.
Yeah. I talked to Dr. O'Shea. I called him, and fortunately, I got him. And he said, Joe, do nothing. I'll be right up there.
You're so lucky you had
So he
somebody.
came out.
So he got to pronounce him dead.
Yeah, Father Vanderbeck came up too.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know whether, I think Dr. O'Shea must have called him because I didn't call him.
Because we didn't have phones in our cars at that time
No.
either. Maybe he asked his wife to call. He might have just,
Maybe.
on the way out the door, he probably said,
Yeah.
call
Father
Father.
did.
Yeah.
So Father came with him, and
Marvelous to have that much support at that time, to have those two men that were
Yeah.
so, so strong in your life to be
Right.
there with you on either
I
side
know.
of you. God, it's like God sent them to
I
you.
know. Dr. Shea was just marvelous. He said, the first thing he said when he looked at it, please let me go this way.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wonderful.
he didn't.
Oh, you have to go through the
Yeah,
whole,
he went through a lot.
the hospital
Yeah,
crap is what it is. It's just
everything.
crap.
Yeah,
Excuse my language, but
they moved up to the mountains, and it was real hard.
so they went up to the mountains to retire in their
Yeah.
dream home, and all
Yeah.
they did was just have to come back and forth between hospitals
Awful.
over and over.
Awful. But he said, it was amazing when he said that. Oh God, I hope I go that way. I hope let me go that way.
One side of, sort of a,
Yeah. But it sure was a shock.
yeah, I bet.
But
Because you're just, your life is just, it's on a pattern. It's,
Yeah.
it's flowing along, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
whoa!
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
falling into the Grand
Yeah.
Canyon. Jeez. Shocking. Shocking.
And Tina, bless her heart,
Mm.
she had already planned. Spring break was coming up. It was in February, and spring break was coming up, and the girls in the house, there were 3 or 4 of them, they were planning this trip to California by car. And so she said, Mother, I won't. She went back to school after the funeral and everything. And she said, she called and she said, I just won't take that trip. And I said, oh, Tina, think about it. It'd be really, really good for you. And I wanted to say it'd be good for me too, because I really didn't think it was a good idea. The 2 of us would have.
Lamenting.
It would have been terrible.
Well, you feed off each other.
Yeah,
Sadness
yeah.
is what you do.
So I said,
You
no.
miss the person so much that
Yeah.
it becomes
I
all
said,
that there is.
Dad has already figured out the money, what it's going to cost, and so you just think about it now and talk to the girls. So she said, well, okay, but I still think I should come home. So she said,
She wanted to be supportive.
she did, and she called me back and she said, Mom, the girls think I should go home. And I said, thank God.
Yes, it's like, yes.
Because it was, when I was growing up, almost all the people that lived on our street, I told you, they were all Irish, except for us, all huge families. And the last child always stayed home and looked after the old folks. And that hit me.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how things stick in your head?
It's always a daughter.
And
It's usually, yeah.
Well, even sometimes it was a son, and that
It's
was
always
worse.
the youngest,
That was
yeah.
worse. If anything could be worse. And I thought, that's not going to happen to her. That's not going to happen to
And you
her.
loved her too much to
Yeah, oh, boy. So, but that's what really, and that's why I said, you go. And then she was going to Hawaii with one of the girls. I said, you go.
keep your life in its order.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know Tim would have been the
No.
first one to say it,
Very.
because that's just terrible. It's a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
So she went and she was just down.
I remember Peggy really missed her dad.
Oh,
She
yeah.
went through a couple of years
Oh.
where
Did she ever tell you about the time they were at the hotel with downtown?
Benson?
Hmm?
Benson?
The Benson.
Yeah. I worked at the Benson.
Yeah, she was meeting him for lunch
Mm-hmm.
one day when she was at Berg's,
Mhm.
and she's meeting him for lunch, and you know how she looks. I mean, she looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was sitting at the table waiting for him, and Jim went on in to meet her. There were some guys at the bar, and they looked at Jim and saw him with this
Young
cute
girl.
baby. Yeah, yeah. And he just went sailing up and didn't say anything.
Yeah, my dad has done that before too. In fact, a lot of his friends, old friends, don't know that I'm
Yeah.
actually. It's when they finally figure out I'm his daughter, they're just like, because we would go, out to places
Yeah.
together too.
Well,
He always got a big kick out of it.
Yeah,
And
Peggy-
everybody thought I was his date, and-
Peggy just loved it.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah,
It's cute.
but we certainly got into a lot of stuff. Now, how much of this are you going to edit out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably about half.
Yeah.
That's why I turned it off when I started talking about Jim. I said, boink. He's living out on a houseboat on Savi's Island. He's completely isolated himself out there. I talked
Jim
to
Kelly?
Yeah.
Oh, kidding.
Yeah, he's turning into quite a curmudgeon, actually. And he tells me, he says, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to live with another person ever again.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever really...
Don't push it.
No, I don't.
Don't
I
push it.
don't.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. My dad said, my father, when he found out that I was back together with Jim again,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know much of our history
Yeah.
because it goes back to the 70s
Yeah.
and then the 80s.
Sure.
We saw each other while we were both still married, but neither of us were even sleeping with our spouses at the time, and I think I broke up with my husband less than a year later, and he stayed with Merritt because of the business.
Now, what name are you using?
I'm using my married name is Paisy. My maiden name was James.
James. I knew that.
Yeah.
I always call you James.
Yeah.
But, and so it's Paisy. How's
Paisy.
that spelled? P-A-E-E?
I wish it was. It's spelled P-O-E-S-E. Posey.
Posey.
See, that's
Posey.
So when I answer the phone, sometimes some people will call me Posey, and I'll say no, it's Paisy, or I'll answer the phone. This is Chris Paisy Posey, or Posey
Well,
Paisy.
actually, is it German?
Yes,
Because it should
French, German.
Then
They
it should
don't
be-
pronounce
be,
their
it should be
O's.
Poisey.
Yeah,
Poisey.
it has. It went through a lot of
Yeah.
changes. I think coming through Ellis and
Right.
through Ellis Island,
Yeah.
a lot of people's names got really
But
screwed up.
O-E in German, I think, is boy. Isn't
Yeah,
it? I
it's an A
think.
sound. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's an A, towards an A
So
sound.
that's what your daughter's name is?
Yes, yes. And when I got the divorce, we were separated for 6 years before I got the divorce.
Has he remarried?
No, it would be his third time if he
Oh,
remarried.
gee.
He was married shortly before me and never had any children. Katie is his only child,
Yeah.
my only child. And when I got
And
the
Jim
divorce,
has how many?
2 of his own and then 2
Oh,
that
that's
were
right.
hers from
That's
before, so there's 4.
Did he adopt them?
Yeah, he did. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
And they're problem children.
How old were they?
I think there were 7 and 8, 6 and 7, somewhere
And
around
his
there.
own?
They're just graduated. They just started their first year of high school. So
But I
they're
mean,
just 19.
when he divorced, how old?
Oh. He must have been 14, 15.
Oh,
Not a great age to divorce.
No.
No. But I guess it worked out okay. Merritt is remarried. His wife is remarried already. And Jim and I are just, we're such old people. We just known each other for so long, But we're also learning things about each other slowly that we don't know about each other.
well, I
Just spending
suggest
time.
you don't remarry. Not for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, I would like a long engagement, about 10 or 15 years. I'd like to get married when I'm about 65, if I remarry.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, by then it wouldn't matter, would it? It would be stupid. But it might be fun, you know? I mean, why not get married when you're 65, you know? But I would like a long engagement. You know, I'd like to have some sort of some sort of normal
A legal, not legal.
thing. It would be
No.
more socially acceptable, you know?
Well,
And I don't even really want to live with him, though. I'd like to kind of live a little closer to him. I mean, I live, by the time
Yeah.
you get to him, from me to him, it's like
Yeah,
like a journey, you
Yeah.
know. It's coming from, you know, practically coming from Oregon City to Sauvie's Island. You know, you're going
Right.
towards Astoria at that
Yeah.
point, practically in Scappoose. So it's kind of that's hard. That's hard. But he's downtown a lot. And we only see each other a couple times a week. But I really do love him a lot.
any other girls, do you think?
I don't know. He's got a lot of girlfriends.
Yeah.
But nobody that he's actually having sexual relations with. I don't think. I hope not. I'm because he's kind of old school.
Mhm.
You know, he's kind of old school. He doesn't just sleep around. He did have a bad.
Yeah,
Because a lot of it is it's so pervasive that, you know, everyone is in such denial that everybody runs around and supports the alcoholic. You know, they make excuses for them. They cover up for them and this is out of love. I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to call.
It isn't easy. Anything that has you in its grip
Mm-hmm.
is horrible.
Yeah.
That must be like any drug,
Right.
you know.
Well,
Must-
nicotine. You've got the nicotine. I've got the caffeine.
Mhm.
So I've had my nicotine and my caffeine. Yeah, it is. And I have a tendency towards habitual behavior. You know, I like to latch onto something, you know, and when you said, you know, don't push it with him, that's exactly what my father said.
Yeah.
He says, you just don't screw this one up. So I back off. You know, I really wanted to call him last night after he'd had some problems finding, some money was missing when he got his bank statement, and he's basically just entrepreneuring cars just like my dad is. He's
Yeah.
doing the exact same thing my father is, which is kind of funny. And some money has gone askew. And so he was pretty concerned about it yesterday, and basically the bottom line when I hung up, he was on his mobile just driving around and trying to figure out where he went wrong because he just wasn't paying attention. I said, well, it's only money. And I said it kind of tongue-in-cheek. I said, at least one of your appendages hasn't fallen off your body, you know, or you haven't been, you know, pronounced dead on arrival. I mean, you know, trying to put it into perspective, you know, because there's more money to be made out there, and he can make up for it. But those twins are costing him, I don't know, he was sitting around the Veritable Quandary down here with his friends. His friend owns the place, sitting around drinking a couple of weekends ago thinking, how much money am I, you know, how much does it cost to support those two? And it's about $400 a week, $500 a week, just for the two. And then his own expenses, and he's not cheap, you know, he's not an inexpensive
well, he
man.
grew up with it.
Exactly.
You don't
Yeah, the
lose
house in
that.
Sun Valley,
You don't-
and the
oh,
club, and
God.
the country club, and then
They-
owned the Porsche dealership,
Oh,
and blah, blah,
sure.
blah, 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 you know. And a couple of weeks ago, he looked at me when I was out on the houseboat, and it was late. I think I'd gone out after work, because I get off, sometimes I can get off fairly early. It was probably midnight or something. And he said, well, I'm certainly not going out with you for your money. You know, I mean, there's other reasons why he's going out with this fellow. I don't know. I think he just is going out with me because I love him, and that feels good. You know, it's nice to be around somebody that cares about you. And
Just don't let him use you.
I know, see, and that's what my friend Shelley is real concerned about. She says, who's getting more out of this relationship, you know, and where is it going? And he came in 2 Friday nights ago after one of his friends, one of his girlfriends, sort of like a kissing cousin.
Yeah.
You know. She's engaged to somebody else, her third husband or something, and she's nuts. She's crazier than I am. She makes me look like a normal, like a nun. She's nuts, but she works for a bank. You know, so she's got this two personalities. She said, well, you be careful. And she said to Jim, she said, don't you break her heart. She's really, 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 really just crazy about you. And I know you, Jim, you know, you look, I could tell you know, he stays back from me, you know, he's not real demonstrative with me. He says, I know you. He says, don't you break her heart. And she was literally shaking her finger at him. So he started to drive home to Sauvie's Island, was on the 405, heading towards St. Helens, and turned the car around and came back and surprised me and walked in because I was working that night until 3. So we closed. The brasserie doesn't close on the weekends until 3. I'm working that shift tonight. And he came up and he sat, and I said, and I got off a little early, and I came and sat at the bar with him. He was having a cup of coffee because he'd already had enough to drink. And he said, you know, Addie was just, what's her name? It's Addie. What is her full name?
Adeline.
No, it's not that word. I'll think of it. Anyway, Addie was on me about this, and he says, you know, and he says, and I think she might be right. He says, I don't want you to think that, you know, more about this relationship than it is. And I said, well, I'm a big girl. I can take care of myself. I've had my heart broken before. I don't particularly want it broken again, by the by, but I'm a big girl. I can take care of myself. So I don't know exactly where it is at, Joe, to tell you the truth, but now it's on a back off. I'm on a back off. We saw each other on Valentine's Day. I worked Valentine's, and then I went down there, and he was asleep on the couch at
Now, where are you working?
Brasserie Montmartre.
Oh,
It's right down by Nordstrom's. I have a card. Well, getting remarried is a big step because
Oh,
you've
boy.
already put your time in.
uh-huh.
And maybe if, you know, through death, at least, you know, I mean, it wasn't a divorce.
No.
You know, I mean, and it was being so sudden, you didn't
Yeah.
even have any, you know, you didn't even have any pre-warning.
Right,
you know.
right.
But divorce, you know, there's a lot of people, like, we're studying in the class
I
we're doing this
think
paper
in
for.
some-
People had to be married back in the old days
Yeah.
because you couldn't survive without a spouse.
Right. But I just...
But now you can't. Now you can survive just fine.
Exactly. And I just, I think about it, and I don't know, I think if I'd been hurt once, I mean, I give Tina a lot of credit.
Uh-huh.
I do.
You know, we bounce back better, I guess, these
And
days.
I give Tim a lot of credit too. But I'm not, of course, I never found out.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you'd have to go
to be
out to
married-
find somebody.
yeah, but just to be married doesn't make sense to me.
No. Yeah.
It just doesn't make
Well,
sense.
if you enjoy yourself, if you're comfortable in your own body and spending time with you, and
Yeah.
then you've got all these kids to spend time
Yeah,
with,
but
God knows,
what
you
I'm
know.
talking about, if
Yeah.
we had divorced,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think the woman thinks she's getting back at the person who divorced her. Do you?
That's an interesting idea.
Say, see, I am,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't
See,
see.
somebody still wants me.
Yeah, and I can't.
I'm still a viable
Yeah,
commodity, because a
Well,
lot of, you
and
know,
I'm
for
still-
years and years and
I'm
years,
still-
women were thought of as commodity. I mean,
I'm
you
still
know,
attractive.
Yeah.
I'm still
wanted,
and-
needed, desired,
yeah.
desired. I had a man, I was going out with a man, I met him 6 months ago in July, and then I saw Jim the next week.
Mhm.
Came in and had Eggs Benedict.
Yeah,
And we clicked again.
yeah.
And we do it every decade.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and he pretty much looked at me and says, well, call me when this is over.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I spent 6 months off and on with Scott, and he's 9 years younger than I am. He was born in 58. His mother is Mercedes, too. Their mother's, they're both Sagittarius. They're both, it's horrible, actually. If I could put the two
but
of them
Mercedes goes by Mercedes.
Yeah,
She never says Mercedes.
yeah.
because I used to have to stop myself.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
cute. Jim tried to tell me about his mother. We were coming up on his boat from Savi's Island up to, he was living at McCormick Pier, the
Yeah.
apartments they built down
Yeah.
by the old railroad station
Right.
on the backside, right on the water. And so we put the boat in right at McCormick Pier. The whole time we were coming up from Savi's Island, it's quite a bit of a trip up the
Sure.
Willamette there, coming under the bridges and all that. He was talking about his mother, trying to, scare me off about his mother, talking about, that she dresses perfectly. She's immaculate, impeccable, and that she's old school, but she does have kind of a sense of humor, but then she doesn't, And he was trying, and I don't know what he thinks, I've never ever talked to anybody's mother I didn't absolutely adore. If I love the person, I mean, I love Peggy. I mean,
Yeah.
she's like my little sister,
Yeah.
and I look at you and I just love you. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And if I love Jim, I'm going to look at his mother through those same eyes. Because that's the only eyes I've got.
Yeah.
I can't look at her another way. I may not like what she does or like what she says, but
it's
that's
not-
beside
yeah.
the point. I don't have to live with her.
That's right.
So he's got this highfalutin idea about his mother.
Well, she's awfully nice lady. I think
Has to
she's
be.
nice. In fact, I ran into her, didn't hurt her, but
Crashed into her.
I met her at Washington Square.
Oh, my.
Not too terribly.
Sort of just accidentally.
Still so pretty. God, she's
Well, he
pretty.
was going on and on about how she always looks exactly
She
impeccable.
does.
And see, that's one thing he likes about me. I mean, I'm not exactly impeccable today, but I like that.
Yeah.
I like things, I can actually match things without even thinking
Yeah.
about it. I mean, it's just, some people have a natural ability. My
Right.
mother doesn't. She spends 5 times more on clothes than
Yeah.
I do. And she's totally untogether. She's very mismatched. I can go to the Goodwill and match
Yeah.
things, I mean, it's just, you have it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't care.
That's right.
It's not important to
But
them.
she is
Yeah.
just, it doesn't.
Well, she must be a shopper. She must shop constantly, though.
She, it isn't as though she looks as though she spends a lot of time with it either.
It's
She
a
just
natural
has a
ability.
flavor, I think. But then I like her.
Yeah.
I really like her. And she's just kind of a neat lady.
Well, I'd love to meet her, but I haven't, He's sort of keeping, I work the weekends. I've worked the weekends for 8 years. I work Friday and Saturday nights. And that's the normal time
Yeah.
for people, but I have Sundays off. I could do Sundays.
Yeah.
I love Sundays off. In fact, I've been trying to get out to my dad's for 4 Sundays now. His birthday was in January, and I still haven't given him his birthday present yet. So anyway, so it's hard, but you're right, I just have to just back off of
Oh,
Jim,
God, just don't
just
put
let
too
him
many
go.
eggs in that basket.
I know.
Too many.
I know, but I just love him. And once in a while he'll say, wouldn't it just be nice if we could just have this for the rest of our lives? Just this, us, just, and then,
There's no way.
no way,
No way.
how come?
Because there's too much family involved.
Really?
And you can't get away from them.
So his family is that controlling on his end, huh? And I wouldn't work into the equation.
You would be miserable before long. He would be.
Well, if we stayed away from him, even if we stayed away, I mean, I don't think he sees his dad more than about once a week, and he talks to his mom a couple times a week.
But that's important to him.
It's the most important thing in his life,
Yeah,
probably,
so-
is his people. So I wouldn't work in with his people, huh? Even if I really wanted to and really tried, I couldn't do it, huh? You really think it's not gonna happen? Because you know, I figured once I got out in the private sector and started, you know, and had like a real job and, you know, when I finally graduate from college, you know, I would love to invite his parents to come to my graduation in June. And I cap and gown it down at the Coliseum. But by June, we may not, you know, we may be out of our loop again.
Well, just play the whole thing by ear.
And don't get, I have a tendency to mother people.
Yeah.
And my father, when he said, you know, don't screw this one up, it's the thing that goes over in my mind, you know, it's just don't mother him. But, you know, what's wrong with mothering? I mean, if you do it in a positive way, I mean, not mother, but, you know, that nurturing, you know, instead of turn it from the mothering to more like nurturing.
But some people don't want to be nurtured. They say, I'm a big person now. And I know my, no.
The person that wants to be nurtured is my daughter.
And she should be.
Yes. That's where all of my energy should go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because she really wants to. She wants to lay on top of me and watch TV. Right. She wants me to hug her.
Yeah.
You know, and I do that. Yeah. When she's walking by me, because I hear from psychologists that the reason that girl children, have